All right, Mike versus the world, another edition, Mike. Recruiting specific. Obviously, there's a pretty heralded class of QBs entering into the 2023 season. Some big names that people know out there, Mike. So the debate here is who's the most impactful QB in that 23 class going to be? There's some big names on this list. So Arch Manning's on this list. Nico, whose last name I can't say, is on this list. Jaden Rashada's on this list, Mike. But you know what I'm going to do?
What?
Give me Jackson Arnold as the most impactful in the 23 class. And here's why. Okay. When you look at, and this is not necessarily a talent to talent evaluation on my part. This is a fit and need and where we are situation on my part. I think we can all agree that the Oklahoma experiment thus far with Jeff Lebby and Dillon Gabriel has not really worked out for Oklahoma's offense. Who knows what they're going to do if they keep Lebby there. But I think Brent Venable has some pressure on him. I think this kid's got a ton of talent. Mike, obviously a 5-star recruit, 15th nationally according to some rankings, number 5 overall QB. Again, was committed, I think, to Texas and then flips to Oklahoma, if I have that right. I think the need of where they're going to be at, the ability to kind of turn over, and Brent Venables to say, hold on a second. We're starting fresh. Get behind us. We're going to be young. We're going to be energetic. We got a great QB. I'm going to lay the foundation now. I tried the transfer portal thing just to kind of keep up with the Joneses. That didn't work out. I'm going to rebuild. I'm going to reload. I've got this kid coming in. I'm going to put the ball in his hands. I'm going to trust he's a good player. Again, I'm not saying he's the most talented QB, but I think he could have the ability to have the most impact because I think Oklahoma is really at a teetering point right now. You talk a lot when you and I do our podcast about Texas A&M and about why you're not sure why Jimbo's not giving Connor Wegman a shot, why he's going to Max Johnson and all these areas. I think that's instructive for me of what Oklahoma and Brent Venables needs to do. And you know what? We tried the portal. That didn't work out. We're going to give this young kid a shot. Stick with us. We're going to make some waves. We're going to get better. I think he maybe has the chance to see the field the soonest, perhaps, and he may be the one that has the most ability to impact the season. So off the board, Jackson Arnold.
Yeah. Not totally off the board. I mean, a good choice. He was never committed to Texas, by the way. I mean, God forbid anybody committed to Texas other than Arch Manning. They were all in on Arch. If anybody sniffs a commitment to Texas, Arch would have run for the hills. But let's discount Arch Manning, who is highly overrated from this discussion. Because Quinn Ewers, even though he's up and down, he's going to be the guy next season. And I think the preference is for Arch Manning to redshirt. But I think Arch Manning's going to be he's not going to live up to the hype. I mean, nobody can, and it's not his fault. But so that brings me to Jackson Arnold. Certainly big arm, probably the biggest arm in this class. A gunslinger, a perfect fit for Oklahoma because, as you mentioned, they need a quarterback. That quarterback room is an absolute mess. Dillon Gabriel gets hurt, and they go down to like awfulness. He's going to get an opportunity to play, and he's going to make an impact. Whether it's a good one or not, I'm not sure. He tends to force the ball at times because of that big arm, and these gunslingers can sometimes put you into problems. But I think he's a great quarterback. I got him as a 5-star. But I have Dante Moore as the instant impact, immediate impact, bigger impact guy going to Oregon. Malachi Nelson's my number 1 player in the country, but Caleb Williams is there at USC, not needed. Iamaleava at Tennessee, Hendon Hooker's 38 years old, so he's going to be gone. He's going to get an opportunity. But he's 195 pounds soaking wet on a 6'5" frame. He could get snapped in half. I don't know. It's the only thing that worries about him immediate impact is his frame. So that leaves me, Dante Moore pretty much because Chris Vezina in this class going to Clemson, but they're all set with Klubnik. Jaden Rashada just flipped from Miami to Florida, maybe, but I don't think he's ready for that. And then you get a couple Alabama quarterbacks. That's not going to happen. So it really comes down to, Arnold versus Moore. And I'll give you the reason I like Moore. First of all, he sees the field better. He makes less mistakes. He's very, very precise with the football. He doesn't force it. He takes what's given. He's more mobile. He throws on the run better. He's my number 2 player in the country behind Malachi Nelson, and it's kind of a flip-flop. Oregon, now again, a lot of things could happen. You mentioned Jeff Lebby. He could be gone. Who knows? What's going to happen? Kenny Dillingham's done an amazing job with Bo Nix, made him an incredible quarterback. Bo Nix could come back. I think he's got probably 5 more years of eligibility simply because of COVID. I think everybody has eligibility left except for Hooker. But he could also go off to the pros, or Dillingham could get hired by somebody and Bo Nix could follow him, which I would do if I was Bo Nix. Wherever that guy goes, I'm going. But they are assumingly going to need a quarterback if Bo Nix does head off to the NFL. And Dante Moore is that guy. They have talent out there. They got a couple of tall quarterbacks, Ty Thompson, Butterfield. These guys are good, but they're not as smooth, as polished, as mature as a high school kid. Dante Moore is one of the most mature from a football sense standpoint as anybody I've seen in recent years. And I think that's the great fit for him. So he's going to have more talent out there too. No offense to Oklahoma, but your team and roster doesn't look that good. Just doesn't look that good.
No, for sure. The reason I didn't go there is because, I get to your point, Bo Nix still could hang around a year, right? I think there's some unknowns there, whether or not, he can go to the NFL at this point. I don't know. Does he try to transfer again? I don't know, but he should have at least 1 year of eligibility left if my math is right on that. And so that's the only reason I went with Oklahoma, because I think, Oregon's set up to continue to be successful. Oklahoma's sort of cratered at this point. This is not the season I think they thought they were going to have. They need a spark. They need something that they can trot out to the fan base and say, hey, we're going to do something. What better than a 5-star heralded quarterback to come to Oklahoma, ride in on the Sooner schooner, hopefully doesn't fall over this time, and take the reins at quarterback and start slinging the ball around the field. And that's really the only reason I went there, is I think he's going to get the most opportunity to get on the field first. I think Oklahoma needs him to be great soon, where some of the other situations you referenced, Oklahoma has a ton of talent. Dante maybe doesn't need it to be as impactful in the offense, right? With some of the talent he has around him, he can just be a really good quarterback and kind of grow into it. Tennessee is the other place I was thinking about. Nico's, whose last name I can't say. And I just think that in Heupel's offense, you have to make really good, really quick decisions and be able to be accurate on the deep ball. And I know he's got a good deep ball, but he's got to be able to make accurate, quick decisions in Heupel's offense. Make sure he's got to the right reads and right checks. I just don't know how complicated that is as a freshman. I saw Heupel's offense being run, oddly enough, by Dylan Gabriel as a true freshman, and it was one read and chuck it. And if that read wasn't there, eat it. And that can certainly put up numbers at times, but can also be a bit of a limiter. So I'm just going to take the roulette spin of Jackson Arnold may just have the most opportunity to make an impact, and with his talent as a 5-star quarterback. Where do you have him in your top QB list?
Well, he's it fluctuates too, but I've got him in the top 5. I got Malachi Nelson number 1, Dante Moore number 2. Then I got Nico, and then I've got Jackson Arnold, and then Vizina. I don't have Arch Manning as a 5-star quarterback. I've got him down, I think, at 8. So he's up there talent-wise. The other concern I have, with somebody going to Oklahoma is these aren't the days of Lincoln Riley and, Oklahoma quarterbacks. It used to be like, let's pencil them in for the Heisman, whether they're a transfer like Baker or Jalen or Kyler, but it's not the case anymore. The offense is stagnant. It's not the same offense. Spencer Rattler was a colossal failure there, and I think that has more to do with Spencer Rattler and his attitude and who he thinks he is versus who he is. But they really, it sounds funny, but they haven't developed a quarterback. Caleb Williams under Lincoln Riley was great, and now he's great under Lincoln Riley. But Jeff Lebby, I don't know. Yeah, he did a good job with Matt Corral. It was nice, but he doesn't have the resume. And now you're going to say, okay, what's Kenny Dillingham done? Well, he's obviously pulled off the most miraculous transformation of a quarterback since Joe Burrow. This guy was just sort of a laughing stock, even after game 1 of the football season this year, losing to Georgia, and before that at Auburn, trying to do too much, trying to play out of his head. You won't have that problem with Dante Moore. He's already tempered and calm. He's Caleb Youngish with his temper and calm. So he's going to fit right in perfectly if Kenny Dillingham stays there and in that offense. So that's why.
Here's the undercover with Jeff Lebby, in my opinion, right? If you know Jeff Lebby's career, right? He was at Baylor. His father-in-law is Art Briles, right? So he's not the main quote unquote offensive mind in that configuration, right? He has Art Briles there technically running things. Kendall Briles was there running things, right? Everything kind of goes haywire at Baylor. Lebby's out. He ends up resurrecting his career at like a Division II like AAA school in Florida, and then he gets the UCF job under Josh Heupel, who again is the offensive mind. There is the offensive guru there, right? That works out for 2 years. They do great. Where does he go now? He goes to Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss. Guess what? Lane Kiffin, the offensive mind, the offensive guru, right? Now he's at Oklahoma, where Venables is a defensive guy. We know him to be a defensive presence, and it feels like this offense is all Lebby's handprints, right? All Lebby's fingerprints all over this offense. And without that other sort of offensive mind, now you see where you get. Where to your point, I think Kenny Dillingham has had the opportunity to be that mind in other spots before, which probably puts him in position to be a little bit more prepared to run an offense than Jeff Lebby. Just my opinion.
Well, and I mean, he was the offensive coordinator at Memphis. Mike Norvell was there, and Mike Norvell's the offensive mind. So, but Auburn, he was named the offensive coordinator in 2019, but Gus did all the play calls. So, are you really an offensive coordinator if you're not allowed to call a play? Now, again, he was involved with game plan and all that stuff, but it's when he went to Florida State and under Norvell again, and Norvell kind of let him blossom a little bit as a play caller, more so than he was at Memphis.
Right.
But this is it. I mean, this is it. Dan Lanning, defensive coach, has his, hands all over the defense. But he's like, Kenny, this is your offense. And I agree with you that both of these guys have sort of had to emerge. And this is the year both of them have emerged under, out of the shadow of others. And it's been a disaster. It's been a disaster for Lebby. And maybe that's not his fault. I mean, Dillon Gabriel, he's who he is. You let your quarterback situation be abysmal, and maybe that's not Lebby's fault. But I do worry, that you got an Oklahoma team that's very disappointing at 5-5, with an offensive coordinator who had his first chance this year to sort of run it himself and fell flat on his face, versus a Dante Moore going to an offense where a guy had his chance to run it himself and is soaring. And that's really, it's nothing against it. It's also a safe issue for me. I know more in whatever offense he's put into. Let's say Dillingham leaves and they hire another offensive coordinator. He's going to play within himself. He's not going to make dumb mistakes. Jackson Arnold's going to sling it. And that's fun. That's great. But it also can lead to some serious problems. And he's higher risk is what. So you say
my analysis of the world, you went with a really safe or really smart, solid selection. I went high risk, high reward, right? And we'll see which one of us turns out to be right. I don't think either one of us will know that for a while anyway.
But the world sucks too. I mean, the world always likes high risk. Go for it on 2. Go for it. Go for it. At the Brian Kelly, you're awesome. Well, that's risky. If you didn't get it, the world would kill him.
The world never said Brian Kelly was awesome.
Well, the world also loves risk, and they love to point out when you're wrong after you take a risk. So, the world can take a risk on Jackson Arnold. I wish him well. I hope he's a great quarterback. I'm going to play it safe. Give me Dante.